Okay, thank you everybody for being here tonight. This is the public information meeting in advance of town meeting. Tonight's agenda is Article 1 was to talk about the officers, well, it says officers, for the candidates, I should say, for the people for office that'll be on the ballot on town meeting day. And we have several here that are that are going to be running for select board, and there's several that aren't here that I got a couple of statements that they sent along that I'll read. And then we'll have a budget presentation just to give folks a preview of what the budget will be that we'll be, again, giving on town meeting day, and folks will have the opportunity to vote for the floor, from the floor on town meeting day. And then lastly, if there's any public comments, we're happy to take any comments and listen to anything that you may want to talk about tonight. Obviously we're here tonight to talk about the candidates and the budget, and we'll try to focus there, but if there are things at the end that we may be able to address, we'd be happy to attempt to do that as well. So maybe we should introduce ourselves for those that don't know us. My name's Kevin Marshy.
Lena Hoyt.
William Lyon.
So go ahead, Ronald.
I'm Ronald Johnson. I'm going to be running for the 2-year term for select board on this town meeting day.
Right. And so Lena and Bill and I have been select board members for I think all of 7 weeks. And Kelly Lyford is the 4th member of the board that unfortunately she's ill tonight and won't be able to make it. And Kelly is another person who will be running as a candidate on town meeting day. So just as a reminder, the format this year is that all of the positions or elections will be done via Australian ballot at the polls on town meeting day, and then obviously there's a warning for the town meeting where we'll be going through the budget, and like traditional town meeting, we'll be doing that at 10 a.m. This coming Tuesday, March 7th. So and just to quickly recap for those that are either here or maybe listening, for town meeting, Article 1 is to elect officers. Article 2 is to see if the town will choose to vote to expend up to $2,000 to support the Chelsea Spotlight newsletter. Article 3 is to see if the voters will authorize the expenditures for profit service agencies. And Article 4 is to vote on the budget. Article 5 is to see if the voters will place the tax bills in the hands of the town treasurer. Article 6 to see if the voters will establish a due date of November 1st, 2023 for payment of taxes. I'm obviously just summarizing what those articles are. They're all in the town report. And the warning's been posted and everything around town. So tonight we're here to hear from the officers, or the candidates to be officers. And what we thought we might do is let them make a statement, make statements. As I mentioned, I've got a couple to read, so we'll hear from Ronald, we'll hear from Bill, and then I'll read a couple of statements. And we were here back in early January, I think. I forget when it was. We did a similar type of thing, and so if there's questions for the candidates, they're the ones that are here, we'd open that up so that folks can ask questions. So with that, Bill, do you want to kick us off with a statement, then we'll go to Ronald?
My name's William Lyon. I've lived in Chelsea all my life. As Kevin said, my name's William Lyon. I've lived here all my life. As Kevin said, I've been on the select board for a short term, and I'm going to run again. It's been a great experience so far, and I look forward to continuing on.
I'm Ronald Johnson. I've also lived here in Chelsea all my life. I actually made the decision to run at the last election against Kevin, interestingly enough, and I made the choice to run again. I feel like Chelsea's a great town. It's why I've decided to stay, and I think it's a town that's still got a lot to offer, and there's a lot of possibilities open. So that's, in a nutshell, why I'm running again.
Thank you, Ronald. One thing before I forget, I wanted to introduce Patty Swan, who's our new administrative assistant. Literally tonight is Patty's first first evening with us, so we're very excited to have her and welcome Patty. So I do have a couple of statements, one from Kelly Nolan Lyford. Again, Kelly is another member of the board, and I'll just read that, and then Jesse Brinkman-Kay had one as well. So the statement from Kelly, first, I'd like to say that I'm sorry I'm not able to be present tonight. I'm not feeling well and thought it would be better to keep my germs home and to myself. I made the decision to run for select board in December when our town found ourselves with an unprecedented number of select board resignations. You were all kind enough to vote me in, and I haven't regretted that decision. So I'm back asking to be reelected for a 3-year term. My short time on the board has been busy but fulfilling. I may have mentioned that I enjoy problem solving, which is helpful as we work through some of the tasks in front of us. My career has been in public service, especially early childhood education, and as I gained experience, I moved into administration of that field, which includes regulations, policy, and procedure development, and leading a team. This background has served me well so far as we move through budget development, hiring employees, updating policies and procedures, and tidying up systems. I ask you once again to support me on town meeting day. Thank you, Kelly Nolan Lyford. And I'm going to apologize if their grammar is probably really good. It's my reading skills, if there's anything in here that... So that's the statement from Kelly. The next one is from Jesse Brinkman-Kay. I'm taking this opportunity to introduce myself to those who may not know me. I am Jesse Brinkman-Kay, Jesse Kay, formerly Jesse Brinkman, the daughter of Tracy Crocker Nolan and Stan Brinkman. I grew up in Chelsea off of 113 with my 3 siblings, Taylor Brinkman Galfetti, McKenna Brinkman, and Logan Brinkman, for the 18 years of my adolescence. I attended Chelsea Play School, where I met many of my closest friends, including my husband, Wyatt Kay. I later attended Chelsea Public School from kindergarten to 12th grade, where I participated in numerous sports, held class office positions, became a National Honor Society member, and graduated as valedictorian. During my junior year of high school, I attended the Mountain School of Milton Academy, a semester boarding school in Berkshire, Vermont, and during my senior year, I attended the Vermont Academy of Science and Technology, VAST, at VTC, where I had the opportunity to complete transferable college credits prior to my undergraduate education. I graduated from the University of Vermont in 2019, where I earned a bachelor's degree in dietetics. I later ventured out of Vermont and attended Cornell University to complete my dietetic internship in Rochester, New York, and my Master's of Science in Human Nutrition in Ithaca. During these years, I engaged in various leadership positions, including the social board of Cornell's Nutrition Graduate Student Organization and Graduate Teaching Assistant. After completing my graduate degree in 2021, I returned to Chelsea, married Wyatt, built a home on property just minutes away from my childhood home, and began my career as a pediatric and neonatal clinical dietitian at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. Wyatt and I are beyond excited to begin our new chapter here. We look forward to raising children here and immersing ourselves in the community where we have always called home. I'm running for the Chelsea Select Board position in hopes of giving back to the members of the Chelsea community that have supported myself and my family to build relationships with community members I have not yet met and to inspire new systems and ideas to optimize the future of our town. With a lifetime ahead of us, we see public service as an opportunity to connect with our community on a deeper level. I recognize that there is a lot to learn if I am elected, but I am dedicated to putting the time in. I value the rich history and sense of community within Chelsea and would seek out opportunities to collaborate with other community members to build a vision based on these for our future. Though Chelsea has many strengths, I believe there is also opportunity for more progressive ideas and efficient systems that are critical to the sustainability of our town's future, and I'm excited by the prospect of working with other community members to inspire and give life to these changes. Please reach out if you'd like to connect or have questions. So that's a statement from 2 of our candidates, and then there's 2 here. Just so folks know, and I'll get the terms wrong, Kelly's running, I believe, for the vacant 3-year term. It'll be right on the ballot, I promise. Karen will make sure of that. Bill, yours is the one-year term?
Yeah.
Bill's running for the one-year term, which is the 1 year remaining of a 3-year term, and then Jesse and Ronald are running against each other for the 2-year term. Did I get that right, Ronald?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So with that, like I mentioned, we did this before. If there's questions from folks for the candidates, kind of the floor is yours. If you would, just raise your hand, introduce yourself, and ask away.
Okay, I'm Heidi Chapman. I am wanting to ask Ronald. Thank you for coming here tonight. I guess I'm curious to know like what you feel your strengths are in this capacity of being on the select board, and also what do you possibly imagine are the more challenging aspects of being on the board?
Yeah, that's a great question. Initially, when I graduated high school and headed off to college, I began majoring in accounting and finance. So, I think that's a great set of skills that I'd be able to bring to the board, just in terms of, helping with budgeting and just any, kind of working with figures on a regular basis. That's really one of my strong suits, and something that I like to do, and that I take a lot of pride in. Currently, right now, I'm working as a part-time teacher while I pursue my degree in education. I'm looking to eventually become a history teacher, either at the middle or high school level. Currently, I'm working at the middle school level. I think that definitely speaks for itself a lot in terms of, problem-solving skills and just being able to kind of have whatever thrown at me and be able to come up with some sort of solution. As far as weaknesses go, I'm definitely, lacking in experience for sure. I'm 21 years old, certainly the youngest out of all the candidates, but I don't, I believe that age is just a number. I don't believe that would limit me in any capacity. I'd always be willing to jump right in, take problems head on, and collaborate with the rest of the board to find a good solution.
Any other questions? Go ahead, please.
Andy Pomerantz, and Ronald, I agree about age being just a number. You get that on both ends?
It goes both ways.
Yeah, you're getting a good start on that. For all of you, community engagement in Chelsea is kind of lame. It has been for quite a while. Do you guys have ideas? What are you thinking about how to fix that, how to make that better, how to get people participating more?
Just speaking personally, I can remember as a kid that, there were various events like Old Home Days, and this would have been back in 2009, I believe, but it was the 125th anniversary of the fire department. There was those were those types of big community events that really brought everyone together. Obviously we've still got a lot of other events like flea market and farmers markets, that will bring people from the community together, and so that we can get out there and interact with each other and coexist. But you're definitely right, Andy. There should be a lot more, and maybe it's not something specifically that as a board potentially we would look at creating, but I'm sure that we could get some ideas started for sure on getting some more of those kind of events created and established, kind of on a traditional basis.
Thanks, Ronald. Bill, do you have?
I would really love to see more community members be involved. I know that I've only been on the select board for, like Kevin said, 7 weeks, you know, and we've only had less than a handful of people come to a meeting. And I would love to see more people come to meetings and participate with us, you know, and they could even have tasks as far as getting things done in the town, and we'd have a better idea of what the town people want, you know. But, I know, you know, one good thing is we've been doing the YouTube channel. I don't know how many people watch it, but, you know, if we could get that out there a little more, that might draw in some more of the town's people, you know. But.
Thanks, Bill. Other questions? Bill did just mention the YouTube channel, and we'd be remiss to not thank Chris for being here and at all of our meetings and helping us out as a volunteer and getting the information out there. We certainly appreciate that. As a board, we're committed to getting back to being able to have Google Meet or Zoom or something like that, so we may be able to try to get more interactive meetings, but we tackled things like the budget and hiring positions first, but that's certainly something that's definitely on our radar. So, any other questions for Bill or for Ronald? You guys got off easy compared to the last time we were all here in January, so. Excellent. Well, thank you, Ronald. Appreciate that. We will move now into, we got a budget presentation, and we're going to see if we can make technology work for us. It was working earlier, so that means it probably isn't now. We've got a few, and I think folks have, does everybody get a handout? Mark and Kate, did you, I see you came in, just some. Just going to go through some of the highlights of the budget. I think I mentioned in terms of the budget, Gail Murphy is our treasurer, and she knows all of the details of the budget inside and out, and Gail's on a little her vacation, so I'm going to do my best, and I'll do my best to answer your questions as we go through it. We just got a few slides here and out just to kind of give a high-level overview of some of the things that we have in the budget in terms of changes. Really tried to focus on some of the bigger changes or the things that were really worth that we felt were the most important to note. So the first is, and so what I'm going to do is there's a few slides on the general fund budget, so I'll go through those, and then I'll kind of pause, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and then we'll go to the highway budget if that works for everybody. So in terms of the general fund budget, this first slide is just revenue. The first bullet, or the first bullet and sub-bullet is the property tax revenue needed to cover the general fund budget is $438,434, which is an increase of $15,155, or a 3.58% increase. So the revenue needing to be increased to support the general fund budget from property tax revenue this year is an increase of 3.58%. Some of these are just kind of points as to, you know, why there's decreases or increases there. $10,000 decrease based on the current use estimate. That's just the current use tax. That's an estimate that Gail had put together, just kind of looking at what she thinks will happen in terms of the current use coming from the state this coming year. There's a $2,000 decrease estimated in recording and vault fees. Karen expects that to go down a little bit. There was kind of a significant increase, if you will, in property sales and that kind of stuff. She expected that to go down a little bit this coming year. The transfer station revenue, this is just a note that it's $9,452 less than expenses, and this is just something that we as a board are going to have to address. You'll see it off to the side. We're currently operating our transfer station at a deficit, and that's something that we need to address moving forward. The board has had very brief discussions about that. We need to kind of figure that out as we move forward, how we want to kind of make those numbers meet, if you will, in terms of what the expenses are and what the revenue is at the transfer station. And then a big thing this year is last year, the general fund budget ended with a pretty sizable surplus. Last year there was a $30,000 surplus. This year there's a $60,000 surplus, so about a $30,000 increase. But again, $60,000 is a pretty significant offset, if you will, in terms of what needs to be raised by taxes. And I will say, Lane and Bill, if there's anything that I missed, please feel free to jump in. Now on the operating side, the operating budget is $715,619, which is a $27,756 increase from 2022. That equates to just over 4%, 4.04%. The next piece in salaries, and there's a couple of points here I want to make sure. There's an overall reduction of $12,912 in salaries, and that's misleading. The misleading part of that is, my understanding is last year at town meeting from the floor, there was an increase in the administrative assistant budget. I believe it was from 25,000 to 50,000, and that's just not something we didn't. That was an anticipation, as I understand it, of maybe going with a town administrator, not an administrative assistant, which we didn't do. So there was $25,000 there that was not used last year. So that decrease is a little bit misleading. We budgeted what we had last year as similar to what we had last year going into town meeting. And that's indicated in the decrease in the town administrator salary, which is that next bullet. It's worth noting that while the salary decrease is shown overall, one of the things that we have done and we've started to do as a board, and we built it into this year's budget, is we anticipate increases in salaries for the town employees based on statewide data. So what we've started to do is the Vermont League of Cities and Towns has a book. It's probably about that thick of an annual survey, a salary survey of towns around the state. It's broken down by different categories. It could be road foreman, it could be town clerk, it could be town treasurer. There's a lot in it. And so what we've started to do is look at that and look at some of the statewide averages. We also have looked at it when we were building the budget. We took somewhere in the magnitude of 15 to 20 towns of similar size of Chelsea, and we looked at the averages for those towns. So we weren't looking at just the statewide average that might be skewed by Burlington and Essex as an example versus some smaller towns. So we built the budget based on looking at both the statewide average and then some smaller town averages. We still have some work to do, but one of the things that the board, if this budget is passed, one of the things that we're looking to do very soon after town meeting day is to hold a meeting. A lot of it will be an executive session where we're talking about individual salaries, but you will see those increases on the line items associated with the salaries that we, at least it's an indicator of what we anticipate. We still have work to do. Some of the things that we need to look at is, you know, we don't want to just use those averages. We want to make sure that we're looking at, you know, what does Chelsea offer for benefits beyond just the salary compared to what other towns offer and those types of things. So the budget numbers for salaries is approximate, and it's just something that we anticipate, but we definitely anticipate some salary increases for some of our valued town employees, many of which have been here for a long time. I will say that when we look at when we looked at some of the hourly rates for some of our employees, we were significantly lower than both statewide averages and averages for towns in similar size. So we definitely anticipate some salary increases. Advertising, again, not a big number, but it's $1,500. A lot of that is for positions. We have a number of vacancies in town, and just the postings and those kinds of things to put out there. We're fortunate, as I mentioned, we filled our administrative assistant position. We just, I think, Lena, just today we have a vacant highway department position that hit the newspaper, so we're advertising that. So, you know, there's a lot going on there as well. And then there was a rent increase of $1,200 for the town treasurer and administrative assistant office, which is across the street. I believe this is the last one for the operating budget. A couple of other things just worth noting in terms of the increases in the general fund budget. Technology. We have found that we have some aging laptops, so we're buying a new laptop for down at the wastewater treatment plant, and we're also buying a new laptop for the administrative assistant. But also, we definitely are looking at going, as I mentioned previously, going to virtual meetings, and we just got to figure out what platform, but there'll be a cost associated with that as well. An estimated increase for solid waste removal at the transfer station. The county tax came in with an increase of $1,168. First branch ambulance was an increase of $10,602. The library had a budget, which was an increase of $15,000. Again, a fair portion of that was associated with salaries at the library as well. And then there's an increase of $4,240 for petition requests, which are those that will be on Article 3, I think, on the town warning that we'll be voting on the floor from on town meeting day. And I think that's it on the general fund budget. If there's any questions? And certainly, Bill, Lena, is there anything that you'd like to add, or? Okay. Any questions? Excellent. If you think of them, we'll pause it. If you come up with any, we'll pause at the end. Oh.
I did have a report. How long have we been running a deficit with transportation? Is that new, or is that been for quite a while?
Oh, sure. The question was, how long have we been running a deficit at the transfer station? And the answer is, I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm not sure how long, but I know this isn't the first year.
Yeah, right.
And to your point, that's something we've got to look at is that just a one-year thing, and there's, was there something going on there? Were there expenses that weren't anticipated? But we're definitely going to look back, and it'll be a conversation that we have at the board that's folks will be able to follow along and make sure that they know where we're headed. But at one board meeting, it might have been our second or third board meeting, there was kind of spitballing some ideas in terms of what we may be able to do or should be thinking about, I should say. Any other questions on the general fund budget? The highway budget. So this first slide is the revenue piece, which is the property tax revenue piece, which is the property tax revenue, or the amount to be raised by taxes, I guess, is probably better said, is $561,771, which is an increase of $32,447, or a 6.13% increase. The fuel reimbursement, there's an increase in the revenue side of things, and I'll get into that a little bit. Well, I guess I can say it right now, but it's on the other slide. I mean, we had budgeted, I believe the number was $45,000 last year. I've got it right here. And that's last year for diesel fuel in the highway budget, we had budgeted $40,000, and this year's budget will be $75,000. It's a $35,000 increase, almost a 100% increase based on last year's expenditures. This revenue portion of that is just it's increased revenue from both first branch ambulance and the fire department. So they use our fuel and then they reimburse us. So we increase the amount that we anticipated coming from those two entities. And then there is additional revenue. We do have a sidewalk grant. There's a section of sidewalk, kind of several hundred feet, I think it is, each side of the fire department. We have a grant from V-Trans, and we'll be replacing a section of sidewalk this year. So there's some increased revenue coming in to cover that. That's a 50-50 grant. So 50% of that is paid by the state, and then 50% of it is paid locally. On the operating budget side, or the operating expenses side of things with the highway department, the budget is $782,177, which is a $57,046 increase, or 7.8% increase from last year. Again, as I noted before, salaries, there's an increase of about $9,400 in the highway budget that we budgeted for salary increases. Equipment rental, there's a decrease of $7,500. That's actually mostly on mowing. And the reason for that is we actually have a shared situation with Vershear where we actually use Vershear's mower. And so we anticipate mowing. I think there was a little hiatus to some degree last year with mowing. We intend to be back at that, but from a budgeting perspective last year, I believe that what was budgeted was full contract, and by using Vershear's mower and working out a deal with them as a neighboring town, we're able to decrease the budget by $7,500. Did I get that right? Okay, thank you. Again, I mentioned the diesel fuel increase. A lot of that, I mean, if you look at a $57,000 increase, $35,000 of that is for diesel fuel. A gravel increase of $10,000. Obviously, last year we had a phenomenal mud season. We're planning on it being benign this year, but don't quote us. No, I'm kidding. But you know, a lot. I think if Rick were here, and he would say that I think the gravel budget for the year was blown during mud season, so we increased that. Hopefully, we won't have a mud season like we had, but bridges and culverts is an increase of $6,000. There was nothing budgeted for bridges and culverts last year, so we've got some money in there to replace some culverts or do some work on bridges. And then equipment payments, a decrease of $30,000. That is one piece of equipment that was paid off last year that's not carried into this year. And that's it. Are there questions about the highway budget? And Bill and Lena, was there anything I missed? Any questions? It's easy. Excellent. Well, if there's not any questions, that's the end of what we had to present tonight. But as I mentioned earlier, we're here, and we did have a portion, you know, in terms of just being able to, if there's public comments or questions, you know, we're happy to try to answer your questions. I'll turn off the blue screen of death. There we go. We'll try to answer them. Obviously, tonight was about the candidates and the budget, but the fact that you folks came out on a wonderful March night, if there's questions or thoughts, we're here.
The report, the ARPA funds are not committed yet.
They are not.
They're not.
They are not. And so I think I'll say our understanding, and actually I think two of the gentlemen that were part of that is that both Andy and Chris were part of a group that, and I know there was a process last year for that, and if I get it wrong, feel free to jump in. They submitted a list, I believe it was September, of ideas to the board. That was not acted upon. And so what we hope to do, again, kind of as soon as possible after town meeting, is get the ARPA funds on the agenda, and so that we can renew that conversation and as a board work with folks and get input and make a decision on how to move forward. Chris, Andy, anything you'd want to add to that?
I would only ask a question, which is, I know one of the big things came up in that conversation was whether some of that money should be used down at the treatment plant. And so, you know, have you had discussions about that, or is there other revenue for that?
That's a great question. You guys want me to?
Again, I know an answer for it now. It was just, that was something that was raised a lot in the discussion, in addition to all the other ideas.
We've talked about definitely using some of that money going towards that. We've also are in the process of applying for a grant for the state that would give us $600,000. We'd have to chip in $150,000 to go towards, but that's a little bit further down the road. By the time you line up contracts, get everything sorted away. So we definitely have talked about using some of the ARPA money to get some of the immediate things up to where they need to be, but we haven't talked about amounts and exactly where we would like them to go. But that would be part of the conversation, for sure.
And just yesterday, Casey Peterson helped us. Casey does some of the grant work for us. And we submitted kind of a wish list, if you will. Like I called it it's kind of like putting your name down on a waiting list at a restaurant kind of thing, to the state for the clean water revolving fund, I think is what it is. And so it's just kind of a placeholder that we have. But one of the things that we did in that, there's no commitment, it's not binding, but we've kind of put it in, and we could end up how we may be prioritized. There may be funding available to us. And what we did there was we looked at I believe the numbers were $50,000 for planning and $150,000 for engineering that may go towards match of that congressional, I don't want to call it an earmark, but that congressional grant that we have that Lena spoke about. So some of that may go towards the engineering. The grant that Lena spoke about is to replace the pump station down there that's 50 years old. But there's other needs down there, and I spoke with the engineer that's done a lot of work for the town with our water and wastewater system over the years, and hoping to work with them to kind of give us a list of kind of priorities down there outside of the pump station. And again, there's a whole bunch of factors at play. It's a long way of saying the sewer plant and the ARPA funds is a consideration, but we've still got a lot to learn in terms of what exactly the needs are and the potential costs are down there.
Yeah, so I've been working with Dave Paganelli to develop a forest management plan for the town forest, and I think at this point he's hoping to have that done sometime this spring. But at the last board designated a person to be the contact, and I figured you guys have enough to do, and at least until after town meeting, you really probably don't have time to think about it, but at some point, just let me know how you if you want to designate a person to be a contact, or we'll start, Dave is willing to come and meet with the board, talk about his plan, and also is willing to work with sort of a community involvement to try to determine what kind of uses we'd like to see on the town forest, in addition to timber harvesting, which, by the way, he is going to recommend some harvests in the near future. So anyway, so just when you get to a point where you want to start talking about that, we can start scheduling a time for Dave Paganelli, who's those of you who don't know, is the county forester for Orange County, to start meeting with us.
Thanks, Kate. I think what I would say is previous boards have had liaisons to departments, and we've had points of contacts. We're starting to get to that. We've decided to get through town meeting, get a new board member so we have a full board, but certainly we recognize that there's a lot of things. I was actually looking at the list of agenda items, and we're going to start building our draft agendas for meetings, and certainly I think that's, it's all important, and I think we just need to start to make sure that's a great thing to have, for us to have awareness of, and when we get to that point, Kate, maybe we'll reach out to you and see if there's a good time for you and Dave to join us.
And the same thing's through Mark Lipke, and I'm the town forest, or the tree warden. And I just made the same contact person for the Emerald Ash Borer, but I was working with somebody on the other board about, still not in Chelsea, but we'll keep an eye on it.
That's good, thank you. We're here, so if you got any thoughts or questions, let us know. Bill, anything on any of those pieces that?
No, good, I guess.
this report together, and it's really nicely, I'm really impressed with the way it's laid out, and it's nicely done, and so it's, you know, it's, I guess it's just kudos to all of you for pulling it together.
Thank you, but I think we probably deserve not a lot of credit there. I think it's, we should certainly in that is recognize Mary McCann, who stayed on after she had left to just get the town report done and did a wonderful job putting it together. But,
And Karen and
yeah,
Gail.
Karen Lathrop, Gail Durkee, I mean, what you see here, we can't take a lot of credit for, other than we read it and went through the budget. No, I mean, there was pieces we did in there. Obviously, the budget was probably the most important piece, but again, Gail was certainly the brains behind the operation there. So thank you for that, and I think it's good that they get recognized for the work that they did in some pretty unprecedented times. Anything else tonight? Awesome. Well, I guess I would say we all have emails and phone numbers. I'm hoping it's out there, but I think I can speak for all of us that let us know if you have thoughts or questions or concerns at any time.
Yep.
To the question earlier about engagement.
Yeah, we really want to hear from the community.
And if you need any of our information, of course, Karen has it too, so you can always contact her and
Right.
she'll get you where you need to go.
Excellent.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.